Welcome to DigiKnow Podcast, episode 9, where today we ask the question, did you know what Google Smart Bidding is? As a reminder, be sure to follow us at Chumney_ads, at Paul M. Harvey 14. You can also subscribe at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, and YouTube. Okay, so Google Smart Bidding, what is it? Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So let me take you back in time a little bit. For years, we have all been told by Google that your position rank on paid search advertising was determined by your quality score. And there were a number of variables that determined your quality score. One of which was relevancy, another of which was your bid or your cost per click, among others. So when Google started rolling out Google Smart Bidding a few short months ago, they said that it's all about being optimized for conversions, and that to the consumer, it's all about making sure that Google is connecting consumers with links to websites and to ads that Google determines to be most relevant to what the consumer is actually searching for. So for those of us as advertisers that have been operating in the Google ad space for any time now, you hear these terms and you think, well, yeah, isn't that what we've been doing this whole time? I mean, don't you want your campaigns to be optimized for conversions? Isn't relevancy what Google has always said is the most important driving force behind your quality score, thereby determining your position rank? And so that's where the waters get a little muddy and it gets a little bit confusing. And that's where I'm here to try and clarify that a little bit for all of you advertisers out there. Some of you may recall that a few months ago, Congress came out with a public statement basically saying that they were going to start looking into, it's not an investigation, it's not an inquiry, nothing like that, but they're just going to start looking into whether or not Google's business model is violating antitrust laws. More specifically, if Google's pay-for-play portion of their business model violates antitrust laws. Now, that looking into, we'll call it, is still underway, but coincidentally, maybe not, the very next day, Google came out saying that they were changing their algorithm and their new business model is now going to be Google Smart Bidding. And now no longer is it a pay-for-play business model. Now no longer does the highest bidder get the highest position. But now it's all going to be based upon relevancy and matching consumers up with links that are most relevant to what the consumer is actually looking for. So maybe that's coincidental, maybe it's not, but that's the world we are now slowly evolving into. And it's important for you as an advertiser, regardless of your vertical, to understand what that means. So up until this point in time, most of us have been trained to look at certain benchmarks of performance to determine if our Google ad strategy and budget is performing the way we want it to be. Cost per click has been something we look at. Goal completions have been something we look at, or conversions, depending upon what terminology you like to use. Impression share, as well as top impression share, and absolute top impression share has been something we look for. And of course, everybody just likes to see clicks, right? Well, what we're starting to find out is with Google Smart Bidding, a lot of these benchmarks for success that we've all been trained to look at are going to kind of be rendered obsolete. So with the new Google Smart Bidding and the AI algorithm they're rolling out with, Google is in essence taking the bid strategy out of the hands of me and you and is instead placing it into their own hands. And Google will be determining what the most optimal bid should be, or what the most optimal cost per click should be for any particular ad based upon what it deems to be most relevant to what the consumer was searching for. So you as an advertiser, you might be used to just, being willing to spend $15 a click to make sure that your ad is appearing number one, even if it's not the most relevant to what was being searched for. Well, those days are going away. Now all of a sudden your ad's not appearing for that search anymore, or it's appearing less for that search. And now when your ad does appear, it might be $3 a click or $5 a click, not because you lowered your bid, but because Google decided to do that for you, because Google was optimizing your campaign for relevancy on the search term, hoping that by connecting people with links that are most relevant to what they're searching for, when they click on it, they're going to be most likely to convert off of that click. So this is the world we are migrating into. This is the world every advertiser is slowly going to be migrating into. Here at Chumney & Associates, we have been working within this world for about the last 4 months, beta testing different click strategies, different bid strategies, different ad copy strategies, different goal strategies to try and figure out where the sweet spot is with Google's new algorithm in getting these ads to convert as opposed to just click and not convert after the click. And I think this is something that the whole industry is going to be learning together. So if you have been in an advertising meeting lately with whoever it is that you use to handle your paid search advertising, and they have not brought you into the loop on Google Smart Bidding, well, now you can tell them that the DigiKnow Podcast episode 9 was where you heard it first. And of course, if you happen to be a car dealer and your current ad agency or digital provider is not talking about this stuff with you, feel free to give me a call and I'll be happy to talk to you about it instead. So again, I appreciate your time learning about Google Smart Bidding. This is going to be an evolving situation. I'm sure we'll do additional podcasts in the future on this subject as this world gets more perfected and better defined. But this is what we know for now. So thank you for watching the DigiKnow Podcast episode 9. Be sure to follow us at Chumney_ads, at Paul M. Harvey 14. Subscribe to Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, and YouTube, and we'll check you out next time.